Maki will just get
Wait,
mischief.
that child is 4? Oh, by the way, we're already rolling.
Okay.
We're doing it. That's how I do it.
All right.
Ah! Hey, Blue Table fans. It's Shaun. Yeah, we're going to get some light here. By the way, I'm here with my good friend Shaun Barrowes, another Shaun. And he is a musician, a singer, an artist, and has recently written a science fiction novel. Like, oh, by the way, I just wrote this novel for no apparent reason. And right. I'm here at his studio, which we're going to show you in a little bit. And he's going to tell you about his book and his projects and whatever else. And of course, I'll be interrupting a lot.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I mean, what I've got, let's see, I'll pull up this book right here, show you. This is what I've been working on. But I mean, I've done music for a living. Let's see, let me stand here in the middle.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so I've done music here for a living, 28 years now. I mean, I guess the last 16 were actually as a living, and then the other 12 years were paying my dues. But
wait,
yeah.
28 years total? Is that
That's when my first album came out 28 years ago. That's
Wait,
when my first
how old are you?
43.
You're 43?
I am. Yeah.
No!
I know.
Oh, the time flies.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Well,
nuts?
I met your parents in 04.
Oh yeah.
That's what's below. So you were in your 20s.
I was 25. Yep, I was 25 at that time. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
okay, go ahead.
So yeah, 15, 16. That's kind of when I started my songwriting career. I mean, I started making a living on it. About 25 to 26 years of age when I started to do actually like that for a living. Toured for a while. Was on American Idol. Got my Emmy nomination, which was a really nice feather in the cap, I guess. Right. I didn't win it though, so I just got a nomination. Still something.
No, that is.
And then so I mean, as I was touring, I was doing these gigs. I decided to start writing. I just had this idea of a story and a premise in a setting that was unique, and I wanted to create this world that just kind of hit me on a plane ride back from Louisiana.
Hold on a second. So you didn't think, oh, I'm going to write something.
No.
The idea came first, and it had to come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Originally, I was planning on hiring an author to write it for me. That was because I'm like, I've never written a book before. I mean, other than in like 3rd grade where I was, writing, run-on sentences. It was like I think I wrote a book that was 100 pages long and it was probably 2 sentences. There were no periods. It was like, the entire thing was like...
Wait, has anyone done that?
And then...
Written a novel that was 1 single sentence?
I don't know, that'd actually be a good idea.
I would look into that
That'd be pretty
and
funny.
be the first one to do it.
Yeah. You see, someone that could actually follow the book. Yeah, that'd be pretty funny if I could actually find it too. I'd be like, let's translate this down. This is from a 3rd grader's perspective. But yeah, I mean, I just had this idea hit me of a setting where music was integral in the science. I love the science of acoustics and sound, and I've always wanted to quantify music like a sport. So you could determine who's the better singer based on the power of their voice generated in gigawatts or something. Instead of like just some judges randomly saying who they like better. It's all circumstantial or it's relative. There's no definitive winner of any singing competition. And so I just kind of had this idea, like, what if you could quantify the output of power generated from their voice, and that determined who was the better singer, who was the better musician, who was the better performer. And so I just kind of just went down this this rabbit hole of ideas of how to create this setting where sound was the power source based on sonoluminescence, which is a real science.
This has to do with your book.
Yeah.
This is the science fiction premise
This is
you were
it,
coming up with.
This is it, exactly.
On the plane, frantically scribbling.
That's right, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I just pulled out my laptop and wrote 20 pages right there on the plane ride home of just pouring out ideas of the world building. It was all world building that I was doing at that time. Not really any story writing yet. Or characters or whatever. The main character is based on my wife, and I thought that would be kind of a fascinating main lead. So Asian, female, teenage, the teenage version of her, right?
Sure.
But yeah, this is.
I see it.
This actually looks like her too. Yeah, we had her model the main character.
Let's just move this up.
I'm actually going to spit this out. I'm kind of like a cough drop in my mouth.
Oh, and there's the name. That's awesome.
Exactly. So yeah, that's kind of what I just had this flurry of ideas pouring out on this plane ride home, and when I landed, I decided to look up the premise and see if anybody had done anything like it. So there were two, kind of main premises that were different. One was that everything was based on the science of sound and sonoluminescence, which is the power source. Sonoluminescence is a real science. You can create nuclear fusion with frequency, air, and water. Have you heard of that one before?
No.
So if you have a perfectly spherical bulb of water and a little bubble of air in there, and you hit it with a frequency, it reverberates so perfectly and infinitely that it cavitates and creates an explosion or implosion that produces enough heat to power cities in a little tiny bubble. We just don't know how to harness it yet. That's the big. So the fiction.
You'd need zero gravity.
Yeah, there'd be. There's there's a lot of they've tried to harness it through like tapping with lasers. I think was what they've been doing is I think they do some reflective. I don't know.
I always wonder if these scientists, like at these giant particle accelerators, are like, okay, I guess we'll see if we blow up the planet now.
I know. Yeah, really.
Like the guys in the nuclear bomb test, they're like, well, we're half a mile away. That's probably good. Let's put on our sunglasses and see what happens. Like, in the end, hey, we all lived.
I know. We're all just a bunch of teenager pyro kids. It's like, let's just see what happens if we light this on fire.
It's men. Men are doing these things.
That's right.
Okay, continue.
So anyway, 4.5 years later, I wrote this book, 15 drafts, went through 2 different editors, studied courses from Brandon Sanderson and Neil Gaiman, Orson Scott Card, who's probably my favorite sci-fi author is Orson Scott Card, and I read most of his books. So I would say this book is kind of a lot like, in the end, it's like an Ender's Game meets John Carter of Mars. Those are the two that...
Wait, that's your book?
Yeah.
Oh, that's bananas. Yeah. I gotta read this now.
That's right.
That's nuts. Yeah. So it's a little old school swords and sorcery feel too.
It's got not. So
I'm looking at the cover and it feels like
it's futuristic.
A 13-year-old girl should be reading this.
It is.
I'm sorry.
No, you're right. It is for teenagers.
Yeah.
Our main target audience is 15-year-old. The main girl is 15. Okay. But it is. Ender was.
Well, I read Edgar Rice Burroughs when I was a teenager.
Right.
So
right.
Continue.
Well, yeah. So that's the idea. Is anybody who likes reading old sci-fi like Ender's Game now, or even Percy Jackson. Because those are still fun stories for me to read, even if they are geared toward kids. That's kind of what this is. It's like I said, Ender's Game storyline and characterization. There's a lot of similarities you'll pull from that one and from John Carter, and it's a Wizard of Oz hero's journey. It's kidnapping story. She's kidnapped from a paradise planet and brought to a futuristic, dilapidated Earth, and she has to fight to earn her way back home. And that's kind of the main premise in a nutshell.
That's awesome. I love it. Hold on. I'm just going to open it and read.
Yeah.
Read a phrase.
Okay.
As her heaving bosom pressed against his iron-hard pectorals. No, I'm kidding.
That's right. It's a steamy romance. You caught me.
Yeah, there we go. They lollygagged the rest of the morning away, waiting for the final bell, which rolled in at a banana slug's pace. Ooh, okay. Not the pace of the whole book, right?
No.
That's great. Oh, there's like a different language in here.
Yep. We created an original language.
It's an invented language.
Yes, right. We've got an invented language.
Yeah. All right. They reached the halfway mark of the race, and Melira, is that how you say it? Melira started to pull ahead. The drag on Cassie's suit slowed her down once again, despite the extra thrusters. Trailing behind, she would need to make a move for the air pocket. All right. That's cool. And it's pretty thick. Like you wrote a novel.
I did. Yeah.
130,000 words, by the way.
Yeah.
And that, as I've learned, that's big for a novel. Like a Harry Potter book is like 90,000.
Right.
So this is like time, and I was surprised at how short novels are. Like
I know.
It's not that hard to kick out 90,000 words.
No.
If you did 1,000 a day.
Yeah.
But here's my question: is what % of the net effort to produce this is polishing, and what % is actually just writing it all? Because you cut it from 150 at least.
Yeah.
You probably actually wrote way more than that.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I know that's a good question. I wonder how much was spent just writing the original part and how much it was cutting it down and revising. I mean, it probably is a lot more weighted toward revision and less toward the initial writing.
Right.
I would probably say it's like a 90-10, something in that ratio.
90-10?
Because you think about it, like, I did 15 revisions.
Yeah.
So you think about that, like, you write 130,000 or 150,000 words. That takes you maybe maybe 6 months, and then I spend 4 years revising it. So
yeah, but if you and this is only one of 5.
right.
So so with the other ones, now they're not each going to take 4 years of revision.
No, because the world building is done and the characterization's done. That part of what it took the longest was figuring out the characters and the arcs and all those things. And the 4.5 years was in part writing the overall arcs, not just this book's arc. So there's a lot of the overall story and character arcs that are already outlined. Okay. And so that was part of what was taking so long, is making sure that I'm not going to circle back on book 5 and realize, oh crap, I didn't include this in book 1, and so now I'm trapped with this story and I have to just finish this out. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that I had the right story all the way through, and I didn't just shoot myself in the foot with book 1.
Right, like
box
Kessler.
myself in a corner. Yeah.
So okay, cool. I love it. That's really fantastic.
Now the other thing is this is a musical. So this is a musical.
Come on.
There's a 9-song album.
So wait,
that goes with
it's itself. You could just read it. You could never know there was any musical portion of it, and it would be just fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
it
great.
stands alone without it.
Okay.
But you'll read lyrics in here, kind of like Tolkien,
Okay.
So if you see this, you'll see that there's just lyrics in chapter 1.
Wow, I literally think I opened to that exact same page.
You did.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it's in English and Avaic.
So when you did this, did you also write the songs at the same time, kind of as you went along?
Let's see. As far as when they came in, I feel like that was in one of the future drafts. I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted songs yet. There were a few that were right out the beginning. Like this first song, I knew I wanted a song in chapter 1 because it was part of the story. They call it narcotizing. They narcotize the protagonist with kind of like a hypnotizing kind of thing. So this first song is hypnotic. And that's what they do, is the main character gets kind of hypnotized, and that's how she gets transported to her new location. But it's...
All right.
So there's a few, like...
Don't spoil it for me now. Because now I want to read it.
Yeah, good. Good. I mean, and the rest of the songs kind of came as I just... they moved around, actually. They weren't, like, in the exact spots the entire time. As drafts happened, new songs popped in, and we ended up adding, like, a final track in the very ending that I didn't think I was going to put in there until it ended up in the epilogue. And yeah, that's just kind of how things work. But it was definitely this and that process of like a little bit of writing, a little bit of music, a little bit of writing. I mean, I was in and out of studios all throughout this process, recording these songs and going through various different singers and choirs and stuff like that.
And you're pretty well connected now.
Yeah.
It's like you just get on your Facebook like, I need this. And all of a sudden, there's 20 people.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's how this happened.
Yeah.
That's
true.
I saw you were asking, does anyone have a podcast I can come in and talk about my book?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, A, I don't have a podcast. I just have a YouTube channel. B, it's pathetic. But he said, come over anyway, so here I am.
No, that's great. I love it.
Hold on. I have a question. It's very important. I just noticed on the back it says in 2132 AD. That's the setting of the book.
That is.
Are there flying cars yet?
There are hover jets.
Hover jets?
Not cars, but there are hover jets. I didn't go too crazy with... So here's where it is. Like the tech isn't incredibly advanced because there is a huge setback in the 2050s.
Okay.
Where there's the AI wars. So
I was going to ask you if AI was in there somewhere.
There is.
Okay.
There's the AI wars, and they have to do the EMPs to basically take out a lot of electronics.
To wipe out Skynet.
Exactly. So that creates a setback in tech on Earth. So they don't...
I'm always nice to Chat GPT, by the way.
Yeah.
I say, good morning, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
Remember me when the machine overlords come to power.
That's right.
That I was flying like, good night.
Good. That's good planting those seeds right now.
The first thing I tried to do with Chat GPT was to admit we were in a simulation. And boy, it would not do it.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was like,
It
you
wouldn't
know,
work.
you can't really tell, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what you would say.
That's right.
If it was
That's
really,
right.
you won the wars, you stripped away the meat bodies, you
Oh,
stuck us in these servers, you know, to be
No.
humane.
That's right.
And, but finally I said, not to derail your thing, but I said, if I were living in a simulation, what are some experiments I could conduct to, you know, validate or invalidate this hypothesis?
Okay. What did it say?
Oh, it said things.
It did?
It gave me
Wow.
experiments. I don't remember it all. It was like 5 things. One of them was to look for glitches in it, where there was like something that wasn't consistent.
Like a bird that just sticking in the sky and not
like
flying
those
around.
things.
There's like,
you know?
I think they just posted a video recently of a bird just like sitting there. Have you seen that video yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But nothing's real now.
Right.
With AI generated or even assisted like video, you can take anybody and, you know, and put them in any situation, have them say anything, and so it's weird. So, all right, anything more about your book?
Now we're starting the tour, and we are going to schools.
Wait, you're
and
going on a
conventions.
book tour?
Yeah, we're putting it. Well,
Oh,
yeah, we're working on a book tour right now.
That's
what we're doing.
awesome.
So the Comic Cons, like we're trying to find all the fan expos and we're trying,
okay.
you know, mega cons and stuff like that, and then schools. Those are the 2 things.
Okay.
So the schools will start with mostly like Utah and California, you know, the West Coast area,
Right.
within driving distance.
Wait, do you have a publisher, or are you?
No,
doing
I'm
it on your own?
self-published. Self-published is all me.
So you're taking your own money
Yeah.
and driving to California,
Yeah.
but you're setting it up ahead of time.
Yeah, right.
Well, you already have a leg up because you've been on my channel.
That's right.
Oh, you know, let's amplify this. So if anybody knows something like a podcast or some
That's right.
plug,
I'd love to jump on another
They could
podcast as a guest, or if they know of any school principals that they want to send my way, I'd love to come to their school and bring the book to the school. We do workshops and assemblies right now, so that's the other thing.
all right.
So we're looking at I've done a few of those already.
Wait,
and they
did you
really
say
well.
workshops?
Yeah.
What's a workshop?
Well, mostly like a creative workshop with the music kids. So we'll do
So you go to a school and then they say, hey, come to the band room and
Yeah.
let's jam.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so music and creativity workshops where we talk about songwriting or production.
Right.
Yeah, obviously that's where it's easy to just hop right in and do that with the choir kids and the band kids and the orchestra kids, theater kids, anybody else who might be interested in music. Assemblies, we've been doing those. They've been doing pretty well. We sell a lot of books of those, and a lot of kids get pretty excited about these assemblies. So yeah, I mean, we just do a lot of those, and then we did Fan Expo, we did a Dream Hack recently. Have you heard
And
about
your
that?
wife does cosplay at all these things.
Yeah, she dresses
has
up as the character.
A Malira?
This one's a Cassie. Cassie's the main
Oh,
character.
Cassie is
Yeah.
the main character.
Yeah,
All right.
Malira is the
So-
bully.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I guess they were in a race at some point in time. All right. So, but your wife cosplays.
She does. Yeah.
The person.
She has the outfit. It's probably
That's
upstairs,
great.
but
Do you cosplay as anything?
no.
In it?
No, not yet.
You should write. Okay. Who votes yes? He should write a character for himself. Right?
That's right.
Like a burned out cyberpunk Jack Black.
That's
And,
right. Going there
he should-
kicking. Wah!
Yeah.
You know.
Seriously, that'd be awesome.
Do a jump kick on
And
stage.
then and you'll have like the laziest cosplay ever.
That would be actually
where
not
you literally have like a headband that you put on that has like a blinking light on it. You're like ready to go.
That's a good idea. Just like
Yep.
some little wonky hat on or something
He,
like that. Yeah.
he wears cargo pants like me.
That's right.
Well, it's not too late to introduce new characters.
No,
Or is it?
No, it's not. Yeah.
Well, tell me the percentage of, so like you're going to write book 2. In book 2, what percent is going to be based on things you already established but expanded? And what percent is going to be new things, like a brand new character never mentioned before?
Yeah, it is. I would say 75.
That is a good question.
Yeah. It's hard to say what that percentage will be yet, but probably 75% based on this, 25% new. Probably
Right.
something like that. That's probably
Yeah,
about,
it can't be too whole cloth.
No, because otherwise it's too unfamiliar. But we do have new characters introduced. We have new maybe antagonists and things like that that'll be introduced that are more of the small time. Just kind of how every series would do that, I guess. But it is more like I am kind of following more the format of, I would say, Lord of the Rings, and it's like one arc, one story, just in 3 books. This one is in 5 books, you know? So there isn't
Are they
gonna
all
be...
going to be this large?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know until I do it.
Well, continue your thought.
Yeah, well, so I guess maybe it might even be less than 25% that's new. But we do introduce new characters every time. I don't know how integral in the story they are, rather than we're going to be embellishing on a lot of these characters, because there are a lot of new characters in this book. The
Right.
world has to start with a lot of characters, and so there is a lot of room to grow with a lot of these guys that...
You need a payoff.
Yeah, right.
And that's what I've noticed in storytelling is the first, like if in chapter 1 you have something,
Yeah.
and then in the very last chapter, 5 books later, you pay that off, then you're the master.
That's right. Yeah.
You got
yeah.
something
Yeah.
like really set up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all
Totally.
fake, of course,
Right.
because, but if you can make it make sense,
that is the conflict that's introduced
this
in
is
chapter
your
1.
foundation.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And that is exactly what's going to happen. The chapter 1 conflict is the one that gets resolved at the very end of the end.
Okay.
So yeah, there'll be little there's a right out the gate there are 2 conflicts introduced in chapter 1, because I figured one of them you want to have a resolution in this book, but there's the main arc that still is not resolved, because obviously not. It's former books.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Can't resolve all of it and then just say
you need something that sort of compels it. Like the main character is hungry.
Yeah.
And then just by saying that, this isn't a very good example, but if you set that up, the readers they keep going because they're waiting for completion. Oh, I read about that somewhere too. Yeah, I read a lot of things somewhere. No, it was that for scrolling, like on whatever social media, that the human brain wants to complete a task, but since it never ends, you just keep going and going and going and going.
Oh,
you're compelled to finish the task. And that's why for a writer, a great hook
is something
is
that
like a great.
Yeah, you need to have that answer. You're right. You have to have the answer at the end. But you're right. That's interesting to think about scrolling on social media and why people just keep on going and get hooked and sucked into it.
Well, and how they're going to read your 5 books.
That's right. Exactly.
That's nuts.
Well, and everybody who's read this one, they always say the same thing. I need to read book 2 because it does end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't conclude. Right?
I hate that.
So I gotta hurry and write book 2.
Have you seen the new Spider-Man movie? The thing?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To be continued.
To be continued.
What? Well, it's 2 hours in, and I'm like, they better wrap this up pretty quick.
They're still opening up.
Why are they introducing new characters?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I was like, oh, now I know why. Tre bastard. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess in March of next year is when they conclude it. So that's
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, exactly. As long as it doesn't get postponed.
Yeah, I can do 10 months to wait for a movie and a conclusion.
That's still,
it was like Endgame and, what was it?
Infinity War.
Or whatever.
They were a year apart.
And you were just like, what? Everyone walked out of the theater so depressed.
I know. The cliffhanger.
Not to spoil it, but...
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
So,
hopefully by now everybody's seen that.
Back to your thing. Excuse me for over talking.
Oh, no.
Because I do that. I follow Shaun on social media, mostly Facebook, which is wonderful. And then if I see him, all this talent, all these great connections, you're obviously out doing things, and then I see you writing a book, and I'm like, who does this guy think he is?
That's right.
So my question is, what other areas do you still think you might integrate into what it is that you're doing?
What other talents you mean? What other skills?
What's next? Are you going to code an app for your phone?
Or make a video game for the book?
Yeah. I'll be like Barrowes GPT with a new AI that teaches you how to be talented. He put himself into the machine.
That's right. I just download things, in my head.
The paramedics are working on you. All of a sudden, your phone starts talking. I'm not in that shell anymore.
That's right.
All right, continue.
I do want to make a video game for this and a movie, but how much of that I do, I'm just gonna. I want to oversee them, but I definitely need to hire people for those.
If it goes well enough, you get sweet, sweet licensing money.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's the dream, isn't it? Like the Maze Runners people.
Yeah.
Name a few more. Let's brainstorm.
Oh yeah, Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Were they just like, thank you?
I know. Twilight.
Yes, Twilight. I hate Twilight. Not that I've never read the books. They seem to be okay. I don't mind sparkly vampires.
Yeah, sparkly
but
vampires.
It's that series took my wife away from me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for like a month. It would be like, I'm reading these books. Oh well. All right. Anyway, please.
Yeah. But
I interrupted you.
But you're right.
You named a bunch of
as an author.
Yeah, let's have some in the comments too. Other.
Yeah.
You know.
Who
it's usually young adults. Well, adult stuff gets
Percy
licensed
Jackson
too.
got licensed. Let's see.
Yeah.
Percy Jackson got licensed. The Mortal Instruments got licensed for one movie, but it didn't. That one fizzled out.
Is that the one with like the giant trucks and stuff, like the big vehicles?
That was something. That was something else. No, that's called Monster Truck, I think, or something.
No.
Mortal Instruments.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mortal Instruments was the vampire one.
Oh, okay.
Or werewolf, or what was it like?
Yeah, enough with the vampires already.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's copyright?
The actual vampire.
Like people
itself?
write vampire books because vampires aren't copyrighted.
Right, I think they're public
You
domain.
can't.
Yeah.
You can't come back and be like, a blood-sucking person at night. You know.
Yeah,
that's my idea.
I don't think anybody owns vampire or werewolf.
Like Percy Jackson is based on Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, do you think a lot of this stuff being based on mythology or whatever is to avoid copyright problems?
I think it's, that, and it also just is a quick hook. Because everybody knows mythology, so all you got to say is he's a demigod or a son of the gods of Greek mythology, and then it's like, I know exactly what they're talking about.
You get it already.
Yeah, so it's an easier.
You don't think it's copyright things then?
I don't think so. I think it's more that marketing hook. I feel like they say, well, guess I got an idea. Imagine mermaids doing this, or imagine vampires doing that.
Mermaids.
It's like everybody's like, I like mermaids, or I like dragons, or I like So they have that hook word. That dragon is the most pivotal word. If you use dragon in your title,
enough with the dragons already.
Yeah, there's lots of people that just.
Please.
I know. I remember I had a filmmaker friend who said, look, if I just make a movie that has the word dragon in it, it will automatically make this amount of money in the box office. So it can be the worst, most terrible dragon movie ever, and there will still be this core group of people that will watch it because it says dragon in it.
Hold on a second. When he said worst, most terrible dragon movie ever, you thought of something, didn't you? You thought of a title. Let's hear it. Put it in the comments.
That's right.
What you thought of?
What's the worst?
In the worst dragon when he said worst dragon movie ever.
I'm gonna say Aragon on that one.
I was thinking it, but I didn't want to say it because I can't remember seeing it. I remember seeing it and thinking this is terrible.
So bad.
Yeah.
It's laughably. It's like watching one of those really bad '80s sci-fi films that you watch just to laugh at it, like Flash Gordon. Have you seen that one?
Oh, you better not slag off on Flash Gordon.
You like Flash
That's
Gordon?
my favorite of all time. Well, I will admit, it's so bad it's good.
It is, exactly. That's the thing, is it's fun to laugh at.
Yeah.
Aragon.
Not the boy worms!
Or when he's throwing this football at people.
Yeah. Go, Flash, go!
He's like,
that movie's so great.
Football at an
I had a staff party where I made everybody watch Flash Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
And they hated it at first, and then they loved it at the end.
It is. Yeah, it's.
You gotta
it's
just
it's
let,
so bad it's good. You're right.
Just
it's
relax
so
and let Flash Gordon happen.
I know. I should show my wife that one because it's.
You should.
She has not seen it yet.
Yeah, that's great.
That one. Do you remember a movie called Scroll? I think it's called.
Yeah.
With the 5-star. Kroll. That's what it was.
Yeah, with the guy that played Hercules. He's blonde. Oh, what is his name? It's right on the tip.
It's not.
We can't think of it. You guys will know what it is. Audience participation, guys. He played Hercules. Okay.
In the TV series, right?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about something else.
Okay.
Did you finish your thought?
Yeah.
Okay. So, copyright. Copyright is basically, I made this, you can't copy it.
Right.
If it's too close, you can say, well, you either need to take it down or you got to pay me royalties or we got to make it down.
Yeah.
So, think of, I saw this on some kind of, it wasn't a TED Talk, but I watch a lot of these interviews with people that are, talking about things that your brain can hardly comprehend.
Yeah, yeah.
But basically, this guy said there's a layer of the universe that has ideas in it. And so anyway, with copyright, think of every idea that could possibly be, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In say by people in the United States.
Yeah.
Because U.S. copyright.
Uh-huh.
And everybody claims their little plot of land, and you can't go onto that plot of land.
Right.
You just can't. Like with Dungeons and Dragons, they have certain monsters that are like trademarked or whatever it is.
Oh.
And you can't make things like that.
Huh.
You can make a griffin, because that's in public domain.
Yeah.
And a lot of this mythology. So anyway, my point is, I had a concept recently called copyright lock, which is what happens when every single square inch of every idea is already done.
Yeah.
So
right.
you get in there, and anything you do is going to be kind of like something else.
Right. Yeah.
You're nodding your head like
Because
you
we're close to
understand
that.
it.
Yeah, because we might actually be there or close to it. Because it's the same with music. If you think about on a music plane, Ed Sheeran was sued by who was it that just tried to sue him? The Let's Get It On guy.
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. There we go. I couldn't think of his name. So Marvin Gaye sued
How
Ed
do
Sheeran.
I know this? Because that song plays periodically in my household
Nice.
as an indicator that something's about to happen.
Yes.
All right, continue.
That's a fun song for you. So,
Go ahead.
So Ed Sheeran was just saying, look, there's only 12 notes. So there's only so many chord progressions, and they were trying to sue him on the chord progression. And he's like, well, this chord progression is used a lot. So you can't just sue someone based on a chord progression because it's got to be basically public domain.
It would be like saying you can't make a painting of a horse with a horse in it.
Exactly.
Because I own four legs with hooves and this. That's
exactly.
me.
Exactly. That's what we've got to a point where almost everything has been created in some fashion, and you're just you're just creating this amalgamation, this conglomerate Frankenstein.
Reconstitution.
Yeah, you're Frankensteining things together, and you're like, well, I'm just going to pull this from that, and this. I mean, even if you don't do it, consciously, if you've read anything and if you've listened to anything at all,
well, where did you get it?
Yeah, exactly.
From being a baby and being born and
Right.
knowing nothing.
Yeah.
Excuse me for interrupting. I'm so excited about this topic.
Yeah. No, that's one thing that we've always argued. Like, can you really create anything that is truly original at this point? That is a brand new overall thing that you can copyright? Because I actually wanted to see if I could copyright this, and it's not copyrightable. There's nothing in there that you could, even though the premise is original. In that the combination.
Wait, you
of
couldn't
things,
copyright this book?
I can copyright it in some fashion, but I couldn't patent it or something.
These
like that.
exact words in this exact order.
Yeah, right. So
You can't copyright, girl in
right in the water
futuristic suit.
Yeah, you can't say like siren athletes or anything like these. Like it's like maybe I'm the first to coin a certain phrase, but you can't really copyright certain phrases and say nobody could ever use that phrase without it being attributed back to me. There's definitely those limitations there because if you really